Now, if you think back 10, 15, 20 years, or last October, you might remember I posted a few interviews over the course of a day at Blade Show West. Now, other than my recent beer video, that was my biggest loss over one day of channel subscribers in a very proud moment in channel history. People hate it here. But one of those interviews was with Ben from Jack Wolf Knives, because Ben Wolf Knives wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But back then, all of his knives were in the prototype phase. But since this is now the future, and it's also the present, Jack Wolf Knives will be releasing all of those knives in production runs this year. Or, it may go into next year too, but for now, this year. Now, all of them are modern interpretations of classic traditional patterns, but seasoned with the M390s and the titaniums. And the very first one to drop at a few retailers is the Sharpshooter Jack, and that's going to be, April 15th, April 16th, somewhere around there. You can go to their website for the details. And it's based on a classic gunstock handle pattern traditional knife. Now, as we're confronted with the dimensions card here, we notice that it isn't a big-ass pattern, but more of a medium-ass one. Now, for the most part, traditionals can be medium or small-ass and be just fine, in my opinion. So up front here, we have a clip-point blade with a nail nick made out of the M390s, and it's looking like, and I can barely fucking believe it, a hollow grind. Now, hollow grinds are the rarity in knife grinds these days, because we have just settled for flat. It's a thin hollow grind made for slicing. The blade stock's a little normal size, but it's thin near the edge. And as you know, as a viewer, I kind of like carbon steels and the filth signature you get as you use them. But a modern knife guy who has his watch collection, maybe owns a combat bead and a Lynch pry bar, might prefer the harder wearing and stain resistant M390. Now, if you're that guy, there's really nothing wrong with you. I mean, I promise you're cool. And nobody calls you names behind your back. It's not like you have a monthly Hank budget, right? Because I get blade staining stresses some of you dudes out. You want your knife looking good with minimal wear and not have to maintain a blade with lube and worry about fully wiping it down after it encounters your fluids. And as evidence, this knife is razor sharp out of the tube. And you know what? For a second here, let's take a detour. Let's marvel at the tube. Now, I have a tube collection myself. I'm not trying to brag here with my Great Eastern cutleries, but I can admire a fine tube when I see one. This one's metal and really ups the tube game. You got a sticker inside, what looks like a pog, a wiping cloth for your fluids. You can just line them up above your desk like I do. It's a little like college, with the beer bottles, except now it's a weird conversation when someone asks about it. What's in those tubes? A lot of knives I don't use, the normal stuff. All right, how about that action? Now, Jack Wolf Knives makes slip joints, and slip joints don't lock. So it's all about the backspring, or the walk and the talk, as they say on the forums. The walk is how the blade moves from closed to open. You get a little half stop in there. And the talk is the snap. Now, I like crisper backsprings and a stronger pull. The recent GEC 36 is about perfect. Some may say it's a little too hard. And on that knife, there's real estate to grab onto, and there is a half stop. And that one's not mushy, because a really mushy backspring can make me furrow my brow. And my Sean Yaw is a bit like that too. Can we call it the Stumper? It's his 12th model that he's made. And on the other end of the spectrum, the GEC 23 and maybe the Boker Slack are a little, feel a little too strong to the point of being unsafe. I mean, they're not if you're careful. Like me, I'm careful. But that's just how they feel. It's the vibe they give off. But the Sharpshooter is about perfect. It ranks there with the Lion Steel Shuffler, maybe a touch of a stronger pull if you're going to get down to it. Very similar to the Great Eastern Cutlery 2021 blade form knife. And it's a satisfying smooth, like a fresh Colt 45 all the way through the talk, and a satisfying click open or, and close, or the talk. And now good luck getting anyone to have sex with you after explaining any of that last few sentences. The handle, it's a gunstock pattern, dummies, because it looks like a gunstock. Handle is nice and comfortable. Some hands may not line up with the bump in the handle, but mine do just fine. Not bragging there, but I got a good hand size. I don't mean good as in big, I mean good as in just right. I've gotten compliments before. The bump comes in between the ring and middle finger on my hands, and I can barely feel it. Everything's pretty comfortable, rounded, no harsh edges in the grip sections. Maybe if you fondle a little closed, the butt up top, it's a little touchy, but those aren't contact area, so you're not going to get the hot spot. And looking around, since it's something I've been bringing up lately, the backspring scales and the liner bolsters all have that glass-like smoothness up top. Now I've missed out on the gun stock pattern from GEC. The handle here has torque screws for disassembly, and it's not pinned together like that one. Your standard Great Eastern Cutlery construction. That's, I think, the modern traditionals are like screwed together and got the modern materials, and the traditionals are pinned together. And modern knife bros like the ability to watch a Nick Shabazz video and take apart a knife to maintain the knife they just bought and improve their pivot by, I don't know, 5 to 7%. At least that's what they think. Or they just like watching him do it. That's his thing. Now, in the before times, the BT, or, before Torx, our forefather knife bros just flushed the pivot with lube and hoped it would be less gritty, because carbon steels tend to cake up a little bit in there, especially after idiot kid left it in the rain. Here you have a one-piece titanium bolster. Bolster liners are integral, as the knife guys like saying when you combine any of two things on a knife. Your integral lock, integral knife. These would be another integral descriptor for knives. The scales come in natural micarta here, olive drab micarta, fat carbon with some blue shit in it, and black canvas micarta. I like a good natural, so that's what I chose. Plus my mini Tempest has the blue flake shit in it already. Okay, the pocket clip. There ain't one, but there's a clipless slip to protect your knife from your challenge coin or your titanium chapstick tube. Yeah, everyday carry people buy anything made out of titanium. You don't have to believe me. They have one on Urban Everyday Carry's website. Looks like it was $90 in the past. Yeah. Anyway, you can buy this knife there. I think they're going to carry it. And there's a few other places. You're going to carry Blade HQ, traditional pocket knives, a few of these places that I buy from. Comparisons. First, the sharpshooter. We're checking the boxes here. You got the modern materials, modern construction methods, but inspired by a traditional pattern. A rare thin as shit behind the edge, hollow grind. There's a lot of nice patterns on the way from Jack Wolf. He and I talked at Blade Show West, and once when I didn't have a huge smile on my face when snapping a backspring on a prototype, he's like, "No, bro, we're going to have them fix it." Now, I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, and it wasn't even like Benchmade proper mushy. It was just pretty good, because not all of my Great Eastern Cutleries have that thick click of a backspring. But what I'm saying is that's the level of detail he's going for, and that's why he went with like the hollow grind and the smoothness of the handle back. I think most I'm looking forward to the laid back jack, and you can see all the prototypes on their website. As you know, Pena has got the market on the most desirable modern traditionals, but a lot of those are front flippers. Now we also have the traditional pocket knives, or C. Risner's Ohio River jacks. Talking about traditionals, they're going with the patterns that are a little more similar to like a sunfish style, but a little smaller in proportion. Those are pretty nice too. I'm gonna have a video coming out about these around early May, so stay tuned. And there is a difference in the finish of the titanium here. You got the bead blasted on the sharpshooter, and you have more of a satin finish on the Ohio River jack. Of course, bead blasted titanium is gonna pick up snail trails a little easier, a little more noticeable, but that's part of the fun. What about the Lion Steel Shuffler? This one is the one that got me started down the path along with the Bullbuster. It actually wasn't my first Great Eastern Cutlery. That was the 36 that someone reground. I let it sit for a while. I didn't appreciate it then. This has a nice crisp backspring, a nice look, some bone micarta, off-white, eggshell, whatever the knife term is for it. Let's do a few more knives here quickly. Get the Bullbuster. This one's still around. I still have it. Then there's the Benchmade proper, mushy backspring. It's an okay knife. I don't hate it. I believe Sean says he's going to fix the backspring on it for me, or try, and we're going to see how that goes, a little experiment. So I'm going to send it to him. And the blade forms Barlow. They haven't really recovered from this one yet. It's still pretty emotional over there about this. And Serge Slipjoint, another outside the box slip joint. It's got a pocket clip. You don't see those on the little ones. And then the Sean Yaw, which is my favorite slip joint. Again, I said he was going to maybe fix the backspring on my proper. I'm going to review this, It's just a handmade for me, custom. No one else has this. He doesn't have any others like this. He's still trying to figure out knife making. Anyway, I love it. You should follow Sean on your Instagram and see his progress as an in-the-garage knife maker. Pretty nice. I'm going to link in the description below. All right, wrapping it up. Looking like I'm becoming the traditional knife guy. I'm not that traditional of a guy usually, but for knives, I like something a little more extra. A little hard to explain why. Patty's Potato Peelers is more like he hunts down all the classic patterns, some Sheffields and stuff, and I've not gone down that path yet. But I guess these knives remind me of the stuff I grew up with, and if it means doing videos and about smaller companies versus, say, I don't know, the Spyderco stovepipe, I'm going to take it. No one right now needs to see my take on those. Anyway, thanks to Jack Wolf Knives for donating this knife to the channel. Follow me on Instagram. Follow Jack Wolf Knives over there too, so you can keep an eye out for your favorite pattern, and when he's releasing them over this year. The Sharpshooter is the first release of several this year. And say hi to the patrons. You know the drill by now. They've helped me upgrade the camera and computer for 4K. A few bucks a month, helps me out. So like, subscribe, comment, click that bell. Thanks for watching.